This course of videos is that there are two free tools that you will want to use nearly constantly: EPUB Checker and Ace by Daisy. They are indispensable to my workflows. EPUB Checker is exactly that, an EPUB validator. Some people find it a little frustrating to use because the error messages are a bit tricky to wade through, especially for people new to making ebooks. But we'll go through it in a second together, and I'll try to explain some of the trickiness. And Ace by Daisy is a newish tool, and it's designed to give your ebooks a once-over, but from a strictly accessibility point of view. It will turn up errors, which again might feel difficult to grok, but you will get used to it. So let's have a look at this in action. This is the EPUB Checker interface, and here's my EPUB on the desktop, and I'm just going to drag and drop. And I'm certain there's going to be EPUB errors. Try not to be alarmed. Here we go. There are a few. I think there's 6. Okay, so it's telling me that there's fragment identifiers that are not defined, and that's likely because I deleted some IDs that are named in the TOCs and in the content.opf, and it says that I have a page out of order in the toc.xhtml, which I should address. So we can quickly try to address that if you like together. Let me open this up and then move it to the right screen. Okay, so toc.ncx. So it's telling me on line 16 I have a fragment identifier. Line 16 is right here. So here's the fragment identifier, and I bet if I delete that, I'm also just going to clean up these page list things. I bet it will be clean. So the one nice thing about EPUB Checker is that you can just click validate EPUB again, and it remembers where the EPUB is. It doesn't work like that in Ace by Daisy, just FYI. So we'll check it again, and voila, that NCX error is gone. So now let's go look at the OPF. And there's clues in here. So it says fragment identifier is not defined, and you're like, what? I don't know what that means. What? But it says line 60. It also says column 84. I have no idea what that means, but line 60 is really useful. Line 60 is right here, and this is the identifier that's missing. So if I delete that, oops, and the 3, there we go, and then check again, and I bet that one disappears. It does. So now toc.xhtml, please open. Oh my goodness. Okay. Line 11. Line 11 is right here. And these identifiers, like, they're nice to have, but this is the sort of thing that InDesign overdoes, is adds all these identifiers. The only thing in poetry-1.xhtml is the title page, so we don't need that identifier in order for the navigation to work accurately. There's only one thing on that page, so it's fine. And then line 25, that's right here. So when I delete that, if you're watching closely, you'll see that I delete that hash symbol as well. Okay, let's see if that took care of that. It did. Okay, now line 47. Line 47 is here. Page 17 is missing from Poetry 2. Let's go have a look. Yeah, it's not there. There's page 16 and there's no 17. I actually think 17 is a blank. So I'm going to copy this and paste it at the bottom and change that to 17. I get an automatic error for a duplicated ID, but that, I bet, will do it. Yep, green. So these errors here about the fonts, these are safe to ignore. It says that that font couldn't be decrypted, and that's because the encryption.xml is in the file. If I check that out, well, let's experiment. If I take that encryption out and close these files, will that disappear? Yeah. So That's all that is. Now, technically, that's illegal. I need that encryption in there. So just, just so that you have all the facts in front of you, you do what you want with them. But that's how I got to a clean EPUB checker. Okay, so let's hide that. And then let's go run this same ebook through Ace by Daisy. And then we'll look at a little bit of the highlights in Ace by Daisy. And it's plentiful. So I have 3 errors, 1 serious, 1 moderate, and 1 minor. I like to be equitable and distribute them evenly, obviously. Okay, so the first error is that I don't have an ISBN for the page source. And that's because there isn't really an ISBN for that, which is fine. The second error is about my footnote, and it's saying that my footnote doesn't have a corollary ARIA label. And it is accurate. I did not put that in, so let's go do that. Oops. Don't need to open that. It's in here, and it's at the bottom, and it says EPUB type equals footnote, and the ARIA role is role equals doc hyphen footnote. Okay. And then let's go back to Ace by Daisy and look at what the third one is. So this element does not have a matching ARIA role. And it's the footnote again. So let's go back over to the summary and try to run that again and see if that disappears. I'm not actually certain that it will. Yeah, I still have 1 error. So, it's the page source thing, which I already know about. Okay, that's great. So got rid of those 2 errors, and just the page source thing is left. And I'm going to ignore that one. I, generally wouldn't ignore these things, but this is a fake book, and I don't have an ISBN. Okay, let's look at the metadata. Here's all the metadata that's in our book. It says that I'm missing some certification metadata, but that's okay because this isn't a certified document. If you're a Benetech certified publisher, you would have this metadata in there and you would have a clean metadata page. The outlines, it shows me really clearly what's happening and the cascade of the headers in the document. That's really nice. And then on the images page. So that very first image, I don't have any alt text on. This doesn't show up as an error because it's not actually an error. You're not required to have alt text in order to pass accessibility validation. But I would suggest that when you check your ebooks, you look at this page in Ace by Daisy and really take a close hard look at yourself and really do the work and write some image descriptions. So I wouldn't suggest that all of these image descriptions are great. This image description in particular is not that good. It doesn't actually say anything about what's going on, as does this one. Oh, it's just a repeat. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible. But what I want to show you here is that when there's a fig caption, you can see it really clearly associated with that image right there and right there. And when there is an ARIA role, it's also clear. So that one has an ARIA role and it's the cover. So Ace by Daisy, in addition to telling you where you may have gone slightly wrong in your markup, will also help you see things sort of from a bird's eye view. You can see the alt text, you can see the fig captions, you can see the roles, you can see the outlines, and you can see the metadata. It's a very useful tool. Now, passing Ace by Daisy means that you don't have any of the errors that are encoded into this checker. It's still incumbent on you to do the final check to make sure that it is as accessible as possible. Even the Daisy people will tell you, they were at EPUB ebook craft a few years ago and told us that Ace by Daisy goes about 30% of the way to checking an ebook for accessibility. The rest is dependent on human eyes. So a human needs to check over that content to see if it's accessible. What it's telling me here is that there's only one error that is sort of in the code. Everything else still needs a human touch to check it through. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that you find these 2 tools helpful. They should be on your computer if you're making ebooks. They are indispensable.